All right, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating cultural tradition from Azerbaijan called Meykhana. Now, this is an ancient art form. It's all about poetic duels and razor-sharp wit. And there's a good chance you've never heard of it, but you might have actually seen it go viral without even realizing.
So here's the central question, right? How does a folk tradition that's been around for centuries suddenly, out of nowhere, become an international internet meme? Well, that is the wild story we are about to unravel.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get into what this poetic duel is all about. Then, we'll trace its incredible history of survival. After that, we'll look at the actual rules of the rhyme before we get to the best part, how it went from a local art form to a global sensation.
Okay, let's start with the basics. What exactly is Meykhana? What are we talking about when we say poetic duel?
So, the key thing to get here is that it's all about improvisation. It's not just poetry and it's not just music. It's created right there on the spot. Think of it like a lyrical battle. You have these performers, they're called meykhanachi, and they trade verses back and forth, trying to one-up each other with clever rhymes and a sharp rhythm. And the name itself actually gives us a pretty big clue about its origins. Meykhana literally means wine room. So you can just imagine these poetic showdowns happening in old taverns and social hubs, places full of energy, conversation, and creativity.
And trust me, this is not a new thing. Just listen to this quote from a master performer back in the 19th century, Mirza Baghar. You can feel that vibe, right? That personal, kind of boastful energy. He's not just reciting a poem, he's crafting an identity right there in the verse, showing off his skills.
But, the story of Meykhana isn't just about art. It's really a story of incredible survival through some massive political and social upheavals over the centuries.
I mean, you have experts like Professor Nizami Tagosoy, who traces its roots way, way back. He connects it to ancient shamanic spiritual practices and even the storytelling traditions of dervishes. So this isn't just folk music we're talking about. It has these deep spiritual and historical roots that have been evolving for a very, very long time.
And this timeline just shows you what a roller coaster it's been. After growing for centuries, the Soviet era hits and Meykhana gets suppressed. It was officially called primitive, but it didn't die, no way. It just went underground, surviving on street corners and in small private gatherings. Then in the late 80s, a revival kicks off. Masters like Nizami Remzi start bringing it back to big stages, and it all leads up to the first ever national competition in 1991.
So we've got the what and the where from, but how does one of these Meykhana battles actually work? What are the rules of the game in this poetic fight?
Well, it is definitely not a free-for-all. Meykhana has real structures with different genres. Some are built around a central rhyme that acts like a chorus. Others use these tight rhyming couplets. There are even unrhymed, free-form styles that are all about the rhythm. There's a serious level of poetic skill going on here.
And the topics? Well, they can talk about literally anything, from these big patriotic themes and love stories to religious tales and just, the weird stuff that happens in everyday life. Nothing is off the table. But one of its most powerful uses has always been as social commentary.
And this is where the wit of the Meykhana really shines. They use humor and incredibly clever wordplay to poke fun at society, and sometimes even at power itself.
Okay, this quote from the master Baba Pinhan is a perfect example. In just a couple of lines, he uses these super simple images: bread versus cutlets, a rocket for all of humanity versus just a motorcycle for his own people, and with that, he creates this sharp, funny, and completely unforgettable piece of social satire. It's just brilliant.
Which, of course, brings us to the modern era. So, from the days of the classic masters all the way to today, how did this ancient art form find its place in the 21st century?
To really understand its modern appeal, this comparison says it all. The competitive side of Meykhana, which is called Deishme, it's a rap battle. It just is. You've got two performers, they're improvising witty, sometimes insulting rhymes over a rhythm, all trying to be better than their opponent. When you put it that way, it's easy to see why it still connects with people today.
And because of that appeal, it has had this huge cultural crossover. Meykhana isn't just for traditional gatherings anymore. You'll find it in Azerbaijani movies, in plays, and you'll even hear its unique rhythms and rhymes in songs by major pop and hip-hop artists. It's really become part of the fabric of modern Azerbaijani culture.
But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared it for what happened in 2011. During a local Meykhana competition, a moment of spontaneous, lyrical, maybe comical genius was caught on camera. And the internet took notice.
This line:
In the middle of a heated battle, one performer just hits his opponent with this simple phrase in Russian. "Who are you? Come on? Goodbye." The delivery, the rhythm, the sheer audacity of it was so unbelievably catchy that it just exploded. It became this massive viral sensation with remixes and memes spreading all across Russia and Eastern Europe. A centuries-old art form became a global meme overnight.
So, when you look at the whole journey of Meykhana, from shamanic rituals all the way to a viral meme, it just goes to show that a really powerful tradition can find a global audience in the most unexpected ways. And it kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What other ancient art form is just one catchy phrase away from taking over the entire internet?